My mom died a few months ago. You know, I did the make amends, but it had to be through a letter because she wouldn't see me. And she died before, any face-to-face, no conversation, no reconnection, no that. So I got that. And there's others sitting here that I know are just suffering losses also of many different kinds for many different reasons. There's estrangements that happen. Doesn't matter how it happened, the hurt is the same. We have suffering over our children who may be walking journeys right now that cause our hearts to just ache heavy every single day. We have others that maybe perhaps long to be a mother and that wasn't gifted to them in their life and they were called to something else. That's another kind of a grief. So instead of spending the whole day being rah-rah mom, which I am, I'm all about rah-rah mom, go moms, we're all beautiful, wonderful creations who gave birth to beautiful, precious life. But I don't want it to be that typical service, I don't have the picture perfect Pinterest photo booth with mom and all the kids and all your matching ensembles, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to do the flower thing. We're just not going to do those things because I can remember those things hurt me. I didn't want your flower. I didn't want to be made to sit in that stupid photo booth because the ones I wanted to be having a photo with weren't there. So please don't remind me of that. So obviously, it's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful gesture, and I appreciate that. But there's others of us that I hope today we can talk to you a little bit because we sure do love you. And so does God, who sees you right as you are with the feelings you're feeling right now. We're going to talk through some of the different emotions we may face. Most of us here are in recovery, and it's Mother's Day, and often the things that led us to being in recovery were things that perhaps didn't make us the best mom or the mom that we wanted to be, and I can say that because that's me. I can tell you that 40 years of drinking didn't make you a perfect mom. I wasn't a terrible mom. My kids were fed. Somehow figured out how to keep them in a private school, but that was just my stupid thinking that thought that's what I had to do. Life would have been way better if I would have realized I didn't have to do that, pay that money, whatnot, doesn't matter. But still, the fact remains that there were times when I was a bad mom, when I wasn't there when I should have. My addiction took me away from them at times because, I didn't drink in front of my kids. So what did that mean? Well, if you're not drinking in front of your kids, you're drinking away from your kids. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? And then the family stuff that can come. We may be estranged from our own mothers. I dealt with that. I know what that feels like. It doesn't feel good. It's a hard day when you can't make that phone call and share that day and that lunch and that dinner and all those things. Those are hard things. It's grief. That's grief on a day that, our American Hallmark holidays often cause hurt instead of what I know the intended purpose was. So I want to talk about those things. The yucky side of it. Because Mother's Day is a good day. We're all here because we had a mother. Some of us had amazing, loving, kind mothers. Others of us, I can't wait till you get to see her again, talk with her, but not right now because I kind of like having you around. Please, God. So, and others of us may have had mothers that perhaps lacked in that mom category. My mother struggled to be a mom. I don't know what her backstory is. She never talked about it, never talked about her life. I know her parents, and they were cold, harsh, domineering people that weren't kind. I imagine my mother's upbringing was not good. And once I realized that, I suddenly felt all sorts of grace towards her. I don't know what kind of pain she had. It's not natural for a mom to not love their child or care for their kiddos. So what was it? Something happened. Something happened, but I'm not going to know until I get reunited up there. But God sees you. If your family doesn't seem to, if your kids don't seem to, your Father does. Can a mother forget the infant at her breast or walk away from the baby she bore? It starts that way because it's innate human nature for a mom and her child. We don't forget them. We don't stop loving them. We don't stop wanting them. That's just natural instincts. Yes, I know there's anomalies. I do know that, but nature itself at its core. You want to watch a mother go in full out fury, harm her child, go after her child. But even if mothers forget, I'd never forget you. Never. Look, I've written your names on the backs of my hands. The walls you are rebuilding are never out of my sight. I don't think my mother forgot me, but I don't know what she thought of me. I do know that caused me endless amounts of turmoil. I do know that it took an awful lot of space in my head, took a lot of time out of life trying to figure out, wondering, but does she love me? Does she ever think about me? Does she ever? I do the same thing with my estranged kids, the ones who don't come around, the ones who don't call, the ones who in fact respond to my messages with some pretty big vulgarities in no uncertain terms, letting them know their feelings at that time. But I think of all that time that I sat in darkness and despair and loneliness and fear and this endless, well, what can I do? What can I do? How can I prove to them? How do I get them back? How do I? But I took my eyes off the one who never stopped seeing me, the one who never stopped loving me, the one who always provided, the one who always said, but I'm right here. Trust me. Keep looking at me. But that's hard because we're wired for family and community, right? And it's our assumption that your blood family are going to be the ones that, they're the closest. They lean in, always there for you. And unfortunately, in this world, that's not always true. And often, sources of our greatest and deepest loss and pain is family, blood family. I have had some pretty intense spiritual evolutions the past few weeks. I have no idea what's happening, but I can say that I'm loving it. I finally realized that I'm done stewing and dwelling over what I don't have. Because in my mind, I was waiting for what I wanted. I had a picture in my mind of what it's going to look like. Like I literally could have all these elaborate things. Like all my family is going to all of a sudden just say, you know what? God has restored to me far more than what's been taken. And I didn't see it because I sat and focused on what I didn't have. And I see that happen with so many people. Our losses in life, they're big. Being estranged from kids, I'm not going to lie, that's no joke. That's brutally hard. For whatever reason, it's brutal. Being estranged from family that's still living, that you can't see, is brutal. But that's all I saw. It's that hole, I'm looking at it right here, so I didn't see anything until I stepped away from it and I started to see this is just a small group of people in this world full of amazing beautiful people. And the more I started looking up at him and around me at the people in my life, the more I realized that God has been answering my prayer for family always. I asked that what I lost be restored. I thought he didn't answer, but he did, because you're all sitting here. And every day of the week, I get to see what was restored come walking into these doors. Get to hug you, I get to love you. That answers prayer. That's that I never forget you. He didn't. I forgot that I was asking for something that I thought I wanted and didn't see instead the answer that was given, and it's a beautiful thing. I've made the decision that I'm no longer going to waste life on things that aren't in my life right now. I can't control that. God can, and if he desires that to be brought back in my life, he will make it happen. But until then, it's not that I don't love my kids. I do, fiercely. Fiercely, but even for them, I will not give up my joy. I will not give up my living. And God just continues over and over and over to remind me, to remind us that I'm here. I'm restoring, but you have to look up and see me. You have to see the answer, not just what you wanted. Other things that we deal with, we may have had and experienced the loss of our mother. They're not physically here. I've heard a lot of people talking about this, and honestly, I love hearing those stories of those wonderful relationships with your mom. I love hearing it because I'm really glad that it isn't all like mine was, because that's not how it's supposed to be. It's beautiful to hear people talking about their relationships, about this hole in their heart that they feel even years later because their mom's not there, or somebody who's like a mom. I'm very blessed because God gave me not one but two strong, amazing, loving older women that have claimed me as their daughter. Good women. They didn't have to. They're not related. I had shared before that even the way God made those paths cross, it's like I knew he handpicked them for me. They know how to love me. They know. They are both struggling with health issues right now, and I know I'm going to lose them. I know that day's coming, and it's going to be harder for me than when my mother died. And that sounds maybe bad, but I hadn't had a relationship with my own mother in over 30 years. We hadn't talked. There'd been no conversations. She didn't know anything about me and didn't want to. But the two women that stepped into my life, they're there every single day. I have a message every single day from them. I'm not going to sit and long for what I don't have when I've been doubly blessed. And God does that for everybody. We may feel as if we are filled with loss, like it's just been taken. It's been taken. These people I care about and love, it's been taken. And I'm like, but have you looked who God is bringing into your life? Who has God brought into there? Because start looking and watching. Because I promise you, he's brought people into that space that will more to fill it to overflowing. I know it's not the same. I know Doris and Kay are not Carol. Carol being my mother. And yet God gifted them in a way that allowed them to love me far more than my own birth mother ever did. I don't know how that's possible, but in my life, that's proving possible. If he can do it for me, he'll do it for every single one of us. It becomes so vitally important that we don't just sit and look at what we don't have, never had, or we lost. God's covered that also. He understands. He knows the hurt. He knows the pain of loss. Jesus himself knew that. His friend Lazarus died, and he experienced grief in the loss of Lazarus. He's dead. He experienced grief watching people mourning the loss of somebody they loved dearly. And then he brought him back. But he shares with us, he felt the grief. He understands. He knows what it's like to lose people close to you. If your heart is broken, you'll find God right there. And if you're kicked in the gut, he'll help you catch your breath. God will never, ever, ever leave you suffering. And if you feel like he has, maybe you haven't looked up lately. I find a lot of times, at least in my life, those times when you felt like suffering just goes on forever, it's not getting any better. Why isn't it going away? If God's got this, you know that song, Can I Be Honest? I just need to know if you still got this. Do you? Because I don't see it. Well, what are we looking at? The answers we want, or the way he's answering? Or is it, I don't want to wait for it though because I want it right now? Because I know I have that too. I'm like, God, so you can tell I'm getting older. I don't have all the time. How much longer is this going to take? Maybe he's already answered. A lot of times I find out that he has because I'll see it when I start looking for it. And other times it's in the patience that I've learned my greatest lessons. And I'm grateful. I'm kind of stubborn and thick-headed. It takes me a while to get it, and thankfully, God understands that too. He never left me. It was me that left or didn't keep looking at him. He's always been busy. He's always been working. And the times when I was most hurting were the times he was the closest, whether I knew it or not. Even in my most lonely moments, he was right there. He sees me even when I don't see him. And then we often, in recovery, we can sit on today, this Mother's Day, and that thing starts playing in your head, those memories, the past, that shame, the feeling I'm not enough, I keep failing, not getting it right. Look at that super mom over there, always doing it right and getting it right. Relationship with my mom is broken because of choices I made. Family doesn't want to talk to me. I'm not invited over because I don't know how I'm going to behave or if I'm going to clear out their house. We think these things in our head, and that shame, man, it destroys you. It will eat you up inside that hole. You're not good enough. That constantly whispering in your ear. But remember when you really screwed up bad? Remember that? Yeah, we remember that too. Everybody knows what a screw up you are. Everybody knows how bad you are. Everybody knows you're a druggie. Everybody knows you're a drunk. And we sit there and we own all this stuff. And we sit with it and we hold on to it. Even as we're in recovery. We're not drinking and using anymore. We're working. We're working our recovery. We're thriving and we're living. We're becoming the people we were meant to be. And yet we still sit in these feelings quite often that just don't seem to leave us. Because I know for me as a mom, looking at my kids is a really big reminder. Because for me, sometimes I sit and think, I was trusted with something so precious. How did I screw up that job so bad? How? How? Because I love my kids. The last thing in the world I would ever deliberately choose would be to harm my kids. And I know that's true for every single one of us in here. Not one single one of us would deliberately choose to harm our kids. And that's why substance use and addiction is such an evil, vile thing, because we become what we would never choose to be. And then we're left to deal with the fallout of it. We sit in shame. We sit with, aren't we enough? And for those of us who don't have the benefit of being with family or kids, this just gets more intense because we're lonely and we're alone as we get to watch all the people walking around, you know, having their best Mother's Day thing. But with the arrival of Jesus, the Messiah, that fateful dilemma is resolved, because those who enter into Christ being here for us no longer have to live under a continuous low-lying black cloud. I'm going to read this, another verse that goes along with this. I love how the Message describes things. I love how it reads. But I love most of all that because of Jesus and what he's given us, those feelings that we sit with, that shame, I'm not enough, it was all covered. It was all taken care of in completion. We talk about that often here. He said it is finished. That includes those times when maybe we weren't a great mom. Because guess what? He was there with you in those moments, but he was also with your children in those moments. He was with your family in those moments. There is nothing that's a surprise to him. He didn't say it was finished except that time you were a crappy parent. Yeah, I ain't covering that one. He doesn't look at you and say that. Ever. Ever. And he knows it all. He even knows the things you don't remember doing. You know, blackout drunk times. Yeah. It's bad enough that I know things I've done. It's worse when I know things that I don't know that I've done. But he does. And he didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. Knowing it all. The last thing he wants is for you to be sitting there consumed and living a life of shame. That low-lying black cloud, I think we can all understand that. That describes so well that feeling. It's heavy, it's awful, and it's overwhelming. Is that the gift that he gave to us after what he did? That's how he wants our lives to be. That's how he wants us to feel. He knows what's in your life. He knows how hard it is. He knows your longing. And still, he's like, please just look at me, because even in this, I don't want you living in this low-lying black cloud. Trust me even with this. Trust me to restore, or trust me to make things right according to my plan in it. There is no guarantee. I have no guarantee that I will be reconciled with my children before I die here on earth. I have zero guarantees of that. But I know 100% that God's already got it handled. Whether it happens here or it happens after. I lived too much of my life just desperately saying it has to happen. Like I can even imagine these things. It's like, oh, my kids will get the call. You know, mom's about 103 years old and I think she's going to go this time and they're all going to come because they're all going to want to see me before I die. Why do I do that? I don't know. It's human nature. You know, I imagine, well, maybe then they'll say, yeah, I'll come see mom. But what if they don't? Will I be disappointed in that moment then? I will if I lived my whole life expecting that. So I'm working very hard to live my life expecting what God brings to it. It may not be my birth kids, but in the meantime, I'm going to stay real busy loving all my other kids. Because God's brought me a whole lot of broken people that just need people to love them. And I can do that endlessly. And we can do that for each other. Can be there for each other. We're all experiencing suffering and loss of some kind or another. We can all carry that for each other. Romans 8:17 then says, and if we go through hard times with him, then we're certainly going to go through the good times with him. Do we read these words and understand what he's saying to us? He's like, child, look at me. If I'm asking you to do this hard stuff, it's because I've got really good things waiting for you, and I'm going to be there with you in that too. But I'm not throwing you through this by yourself. I'm not saying figure it out and get through it. I just am asking you to trust me with this because I do have a plan. I know what you're feeling. I know what you want. I know you want your kids. I know you want your mom. I know. And he's like, but know that I love you. Know that I see you. And know that I am working behind the scenes always for you. Because I have the best in mind for you. I catch myself all the time saying, I sure wish I would have learned these lessons way earlier. I do. But I know me, and that would have been a complacent Heidi that just knew stuff, but didn't live it. It's been the really junky parts of my life that made this. I don't want to go through the lesson again, but I don't want the lessons removed from my life. Loss made me learn how to love. I'm not somebody that wishes everybody feels like me. In fact, it's the opposite. I don't want people to have to feel like I did. And that's how we're supposed to live life. To take the junk and turn it into an expression of love over others. I know that that's done miraculous things in my life. Because if we don't do that, we often just sit with the junk. And instead of healing through loving others, we destroy through hating ourselves. We talk about serving and that in loving others often here. It's because we're a community that believes in that. We know the power of it. But we know the power of the opposite when it's all self. It's how we ended up probably in the situations we were in, because it was very self-focused. I find that when I am so focused on people outside of me and how can I serve and how can I love, I don't waste time sitting with my junk anymore. I don't have time for that. And that's a good thing in my life, because my brain is a vast wasteland of, I could go for days through this thing, but that's not good. It's so much better to keep my eyes on him who promised, I'm there for those great times, but even more, I'm there for when it's hard. Oh, longing. Longing is, the feeling of it. It can either be that great thing, like you have this vacation plan that's really exciting. You have this longing for that date to come, and that's exciting and it's great. That kind of longing, that's so good. Expecting this baby, you're just longing to hold this little one. And then you sit, made all that waiting, everything was great. And then you can't hold this little one anymore because they won't come close enough to you to do that. Because moms, they're always this, right? Always. Even when they're this. All my kids are like, even my daughter's close to 6 foot and taller. I don't know what happened, but fertilizer, miracle grow, I don't know. But they're always going to be this to me. Always. My babies. This is longing. Hugs feel so good. Those real hugs. I wish everybody would get over their whole phobia of displays of affection. Hugs are a beautiful thing. Jesus believed in hugs. He wasn't a hands-off kind of savior, but I won't lie, there's times that I long to feel what it's like to have mom hug you when you walked in the door. I still have times, even at this age. What does that feel like? What is it like to be loved like that? To have mom waiting for you? I don't know, but I can be that. That's a whole lot better than if I got that hug. Being that is so much better than if I would have had my wishes answered. If I would have had it my way, I wouldn't be here because I'd be busy with family, trying to be with family who don't think like me, act like me, believe like me, love like me. I have a family these are hard things to say, but I'm going to say it. I love them dearly, but they are not people I would choose to have close relationship with in my life because of how they treat people around them. And that's hard reality because it's family. Why am I longing for that? Because it hurts to be loved that way. I long for things because I long for the idea of something, not the actual reality a lot of the times. Does that make sense? Understand that difference? We often long for the picture of something. Like me, family. Think of that Norman Rockwell, if anybody remembers who Norman Rockwell is, but the family all sitting there, around the table, everybody's happy, the kids are all beaming and smiling, and dad's getting ready to carve the roast beef, and mom's putting the tray of mashed potatoes down, and everybody's great, and you can just feel how amazing it is. Yeah, that was that thing that I longed for, like the idea of that. But I now recognize that I don't long for what was reality in my life. I don't long for that. I long for something that never was. I need to stop doing that, and I need to be fully in reality. It's better to be fully in reality than longing for ideas. Because that can derail us badly, because our minds go endlessly. This verse will seem a little odd, but we're going to talk about it. I'll make up for the years of the locust, the great locust devastation, locust savage, locust deadly, fierce locust, locusts of doom, that great locust invasion I sent your way. You'll eat your fill of good food. At the time in Joel, when this was written, there was a huge famine going on, mainly due to the locusts, grasshoppers that ate everything. Everything was gone. Like, people were hungry. This was a devastation to the ground. I mean, it turns places into deserts. I mean, the ground is laid bare. And this was horrible, but we need to think of this sometimes as we read about analogies and think about your life. Think about your life being that field. And now think of all these events happening. Those are the locusts. Some of them are savage. Some of them are deadly. They're fierce. They can feel like doom. And they just lay our lives to waste. All these things can flatten them, leaving us starving and dying and in devastation. But what does God say? If he's going to ask you to go through that or allow that into your life, what does he say? I'll make up for the years of the locust. You'll eat your fill of good food. The more I sat with that verse, the more I really, really liked it. I liked the way it described my life in that way. I like that word picture kind of thing, because my life has been laid bare so many times by things I chose to allow into it. And God allowed it to happen. He's often given it to me, both barrels, because this one, she takes some doing sometimes to get through to her. I'm recognizing now, though, I'm in my season of the I'll make up for it. Man, I was dreading today, Mother's Day, for a couple months before it gets here. It's just the way my mind works. Some things are just raw to me. But this year, it's different. Does it still hurt? Yeah, and it always will. But man, I'm keeping my head up and I'm keeping my eyes much more where they should be. And this is happening in my life. Not financially. I don't have bank statements that got bunches of commas in it. I mean, it's nice if there is a comma in there. That's great. There's a decimal because there's cents that come after that. We got those all the time, so I'm happy with that. But man, the ways in which my life is being rebuilt, the good food coming my way, it is beyond my wildest imagination. Don't make God small. Don't expect small. God doesn't work that way. When you full out open your arms to him, you full out say, God, I'm out of the way. Help me, because I'm kind of stubborn and I have to learn lessons and I like to get in the way and I like to give you suggestions because I know you're busy. I used to do that. God, you're busy, so I'll just do it my way for you. But God, he has never failed. And there's been times in my life like that song, Can I Be Honest? I wondered if he was working. Where are you? Like where? I don't see God in any of this. And now looking back, all I see is God. All of it. Because every bit of it kept me moving. I have a calling on my life. We all do. Every single one of us has a specific calling on our life. I love seeing people step into their calling. It excites me. The calling on my life, I had no idea it included this, what I'm doing right now. No idea. But I can honestly say the timing of God's plan is perfect. There was no other time in life that I was ready until now, because I had so many lessons to learn. I didn't get called to pastor in a denominational church. I was called to recovery church. I have a very specific calling on my life. And I am so grateful for a God who loved me enough to allow me the lessons that I would need to do this. And even saying that, I understand that as a human, that makes no sense, because if you only knew what I was saying thank you for. It's things most people would never say thank you for, but I am. Don't take those lessons from my life, because then you're going to take from what I needed for my calling. I cannot I will never be able to answer the specific questions of why me, or why is it seem to be so much harder on some life experiences. I will not be able to answer that specifically for you. But I know that some have experienced things that are beyond the mind. I know that. I don't know the whys fully outside of we live in this fallen, broken, dying world. But I also know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God is going to do something amazing with the things that seem especially awful. I promise you. I promise you. And if you say, I don't believe it, please just come and find me, because I'm going to tell you all the ways that he did for me. I won't do it here. But the ugliest of things really become beautiful when God's done with them. He wasn't the ugly. He wasn't the bad. And I don't want us to mistake that. We often think the cancer, God gave me cancer. God let me be assaulted. God took this from me. God did that. God is love, and please tell me how love is cancer. Tell me how love is losing a child. Tell me how love is causing somebody deep hurt and grief and pain. Those things aren't love. That's the result of sin in a dying world. But love is a God that steps in and said, even though you chose this, I am giving you the way out completely. And there's nothing you have to do other than just say, I believe you and I want it. There's nothing you can do. And you don't have to. Just love. And this will always be. Oh, some of us are in a season of, we're on the other side of things. We're working our recovery and we're getting these opportunities. We get to rebuild trust with our families. And that road's always a real smooth sailing, isn't it? Smooth surface. Everybody's all like, this is great. And it's perfect. It's not. Rebuilding trust takes so much time. I'll use my husband as an example because I always do, and because you're there and I know your story. So Robert gets out of prison. He had spent a lot of time, planning and really wanting to lean into being a dad. He'd been away, and, addiction does that. And it, writing the letters, making the little gifts, connecting. I want to go home and be that dad, I don't know why God worked events the way that he did, because that first time he came back, planning on that, to be full in dad, just days before he came home, God took 2 of them to heaven in a car accident. Well, you still get to go home. Now you're fresh out of jail, prison. And now 2 of your 4 kids are no longer on this earth. You didn't get to say goodbye. You didn't get to be at the funeral even. Do you think family was fully ready at that point to say, here you go, Robert, here's the other 2, there you go? That didn't happen either. Things were weird. Because family They know us from their past experiences with us, and they can have mistrust. They're not real sure. Well, we've been raising your kids for you because you weren't there, and so now you come waltzing in and want them? Yeah, right. That happens a lot. My heart hurts in those situations badly. Robert came back and stayed back here in Michigan, really working to lean into family and the kids' lives. It wasn't smooth sailing. It wasn't ready acceptance. It wasn't an immediate, oh, we're so glad you're back. Here's the kids. Boy, it's been no. They made it difficult. They weren't rah, excited. There you go. He had to do a lot of this. A lot of that proving. And that can be tough sometimes because we know our heart. We know how we feel. We know we're different and changed. And then those things creep in our head like, oh, you get so angry. This isn't fair because I'm doing things right now. I got my life together. I want to be a dad. I want to be a mom. It's all I want. Why can't I be? And family or other people can get in the way of that. But sometimes you get those doors open. You get opportunities for spending time and doing the thing. And we have to work through those processes too, always remembering, like it or not, we do have some rebuilding to do. It's worth taking the time to do this. It's worth fighting the frustration and anger we get at people keeping our kids from us. I want to parent my kids. Can I please have my kids? Sometimes it's court, sometimes it's family that make that a battle. God sees that. He sees that. He's with you in that. He's also with your kids in that. Continue the course, though. Do everything you can. Earn that trust. You can't make them do anything. But if you know the pathway set for you, sometimes we have to walk it even when it's not the way we want it to go. But those kids are worth it. Don't get derailed by other adults making it difficult for you. Some of the times we kind of have to own that. That's kind of the price we pay for choices we made in the past. Sometimes we have to pay some dues even when our life is being lived the way it should be. I know there's still dues I have to pay because of way past choices. That's just the nature of life and the way that it goes. It gets better every single day. But always start with this. Trust God from the bottom of your heart and don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do and everywhere you go. He's the one who will keep you, should be on track. So sorry, spelling error. Trust God. Trust God when you're trying to regain family trust so you can regain more time with kids and hopefully full custody. Trust God with the kids who are wandering from home and leave you terrified every day over them for their well-being because you just know that this life they're living isn't safe, that something could happen out there. Those endless nights of are they okay, are they not okay? Trust them from the bottom of your heart. That means with everything you've got. And some days that's what it takes, everything you got to trust them with that. And then that next part, don't try to figure it out on your own. How many of us do that all the time? We sit and stew, me too, stew, like trying to figure out the answer. And sometimes do we stop and listen? Have we even asked our Father the question, or have we just spent the whole time trying to figure it out? feeling forgotten and uncelebrated. Days like this can really hit home, these things. Just scroll through Facebook. Look at all the moms, all the kids with their messages, all the flowers, the pictures. And you're like, I don't have a picture to put up for Mother's Day. They don't have Hallmark cards for moms who might not have custody of their kids right now. There's a lot of things they don't make Hallmark cards for. So you kind of watch from the outside, wanting to be part of it. You know, you can both equally celebrate and be happy for people and what they're celebrating and what they have, and at the same time just feel just grief-stricken. Many Mother's Days have felt like this for me. This year's just a strange one. I feel a little like haven't quite put, my own mother's death fully in place yet. It's what happens with unfinished business. It's just how it is. But man, that feeling, being forgotten, just feeling alone, like nobody's going to celebrate me. You don't celebrate a mom who doesn't have her kids with her right now. I will. I'll sit with you. I'll love you. I will notice you. I will see you. I won't forget you. You aren't a bad human being if you don't happen to have your kids with you. Not in my book. If you don't have a mom that's going to reach out and pour love into you, if you need a mom figure, come find me because I'll do that. There are people all around here that will do those things for everybody. And it's important to watch for those people because we need you. Because feeling forgotten and uncelebrated, that should never happen in God's family. That's why it doesn't often feel that way when I'm at this building with all of you. Because you're not people that overlook and don't see people. You are seen here. Exactly where you're at with all of your life experiences and what you have in your life and what you may not have in your life, and we're here for it all. But God, this is what God says to you. That's how much you mean to me. That's how much I love you. I'd sell off the whole world to get you back. I would trade creation just for you. But I gave you my only son instead. Literally, it says, I would give creation, everything I created, for you. You don't do that for somebody who's forgotten and uncelebrated. You don't do that for somebody who's unseen. You don't do that for somebody who's not loved. You give everything to someone who means everything to you. But it wasn't the creation. He gave his very self in the form of his only son. If God can give everything, that's everything. There is nothing more that God could sacrifice to get you back than his very self. He allowed his son to experience every emotion you're feeling today. Every bit of it as a human would feel it. But it was God experiencing that. I can't comprehend some of these things, but he did that so we have a Savior that we can identify with because he knows us inside and out. He both formed us and breathed life into us, but he also lived as us in every way. Helpless brand new baby needing diaper changes. Can you imagine changing God's diaper? I mean, seriously. There's so often we'll get asked to, do something for somebody. It's like, oh my goodness, that's an awful lot to ask. But my father asked that of his one and only. Got a job for you because I really love these people. And they're really hurting and they're really suffering. And I want to make it all right. So I'm going to allow them to kill you. And you will die and experience hell so they don't have to. And he said, okay. Because I love them too. They're my brothers and they're my sisters. I can't restore to you family that may be lost. I can't bring a mom back in your life. I can't bring kids back into your life. I can't take the hurt away. I don't have magic words that poof, everything is all great again. But what I can tell you about is Jesus. I can tell you that you can trust him with everything. I can beg you to be willing to just get out of your way and be fully in and present with God. Like I wish I could double dog dare you, challenge you, just do it, try it. Just give me a week of full out, I'm all in for God. I don't care what people say. I don't care if they want to laugh at me. I don't care because, man, God. Because when you really sit and think about what he's done, what he's fixed, what he's planning, what he's walking with you through, is it that hard to get excited about him? I've made a fool out of myself at some awesome rock shows or live music things, making an absolute fool. My hands just waving in the air and dancing and having a great time. And for years, I celebrated God like this. Now, I don't want to sing too loud because my voice is bad. And you don't always have to sing loud. But are we in active worship when those words are being raised? Do we think about what we're saying? Do we think about what he is actually saying and doing? Or is it just some words with a cool tune? Because granted, a lot of the stuff, yeah, I really like the music too. But it's about the words. I lean into those words because it's healing to my soul, because it gives me hope, because it's a way to say thank you and to celebrate God and what he's done, because every single one of you, when you walked in today, he walked in with you and said, I know where you're hurting. I know what you want, and I know what you're asking for, even if you're not using words or saying it out loud. I know. And I'm right here. I'm just waiting for you to look at me and say, I trust you. And then hand it to me. Just hand it to me so you can keep on living joyfully and full while I work out the yuck. We don't have to do that for ourselves. You are allowed to live joyfully while the chaos in your life is getting repaired. I didn't know that. I felt guilty. I'm estranged from my kids. I can't look like I'm having fun in life. What will people think? I don't care about my kids. Like, that consumed me. So I refuse to be happy because moms that are estranged from their kids can't look like they're happy and liking life. Don't listen to those lies. Don't listen to those lies. Because that's what they are. They're lies. No matter your losses, you can live a life of joy. It's okay to grieve, but don't grieve imagined ideas that you wanted. Those were never real. I don't even know how to why do we not trust a God that would go that far to show us how much he loves us? If he wasn't going to handle it and take care of it, why would he have done this? What point was there to Jesus if he wasn't going to handle it? And if Jesus said, I love you, and I don't want you to suffer, and suffering is feeling estranged and longing and loss. He paid for those things on the cross because he doesn't want us living in those. He doesn't want us living in a life consumed with those. Why? Because people are going to know who he is when he watches us living our life with our eyes fully on him as we're walking through the hardest moments of our life. There is no better testimony for who God is than for somebody who is just a light in this world, eyes on Jesus, doing their thing and living their life, and then you find out what's actually going on in their life. Like, you want to know, what's the secret? How do you do that? Let me tell you, his name is Jesus. That's why. That's why. If we walk around just like utterly crushed and defeated, like I just can't go on anymore, and that's how we walk through life, are you going to want to buy the Jesus they're selling? What part of that life looks great? Yeah, have Jesus in your life so you can live miserable just like me as I'm suffering over all these sins that Jesus died for. What are we doing? Why can't we let it be finished? I know we're humans. I know. I struggle. I probably will likely always have moments on Mother's Day that aren't going to be super great. I have a relationship that's pretty tense with my mother-in-law. We talk. It's not that we don't. I'm welcome there, and they're welcome here, but there just was a situation, and it hasn't been great since. She fell and had a serious dislocation of her arm yesterday. So that's how she's spending Mother's Day, recuperating from that. And I need to work on that relationship too, and I'm not sure why I'm resistant to that. I think I just don't want to be hurt again by a mom in my life. But that's my failure, and I need to trust. So just remember that he sees you as you are with the losses you have, whether you're suffering the loss of a mom, whether you're estranged from your mom or your kids, you're dealing with the shame or guilt. Remember that God saw that and he knew that. And let him be there in those empty, dark spaces so he can bring light in those spaces. Because it's my prayer that the enemy, that liar, doesn't use those raw things to take you further from God, because it's what he does. Just remember, he loved you enough to give you him. And he loved you enough to say, yes, I want to do this without hesitation. Doesn't mean your days are going to be perfect. Nobody should ever expect, as soon as you're a full in with Jesus person, everything's going to go so good. I can talk about that too. I think we all could. Life isn't perfect for all in people, promise you. In fact, you're going to find out it can get even more turbulent at times. Because I'm telling you, the one who's a liar, our enemy, Satan, he doesn't have to waste time on people already looking at him and what he's offering. But as soon as you say, I am all in with the one who's already won, you put that target on your back and he sees it. And he sees it and he wants to take you out of your game. And what better way to do it than through the ones you love the most? I'm not going to let him win that way. I won't. And I hang on every day to God's promises, because he promised that he hears and he answers. And I do believe that all that has been lost will be restored. I just don't know if it will be on this earth. And I finally reached the point where I'm okay with that, because this is a pale comparison to what I have waiting for me. And that allows me to live a life of fun. It's why I could go on a dance floor and dance really badly with Katie and have a great old time last night and not care, even with estranged children and the loss of a mom recently. Happy, and I'm joyful because I see what he has answered and given. It is my hope and prayer that if you're here today and you're hurting, if you're a mom and your heart is broken or suffering, come and find some of us, because we've got some love to pour into you today. I am really glad that you are here. We want you and we love you and we see you. For moms that are hurting over children, we love you dearly and we're here for you. And we see you. And we recognize it. And you're an amazing mom. For those who are missing their moms, who aren't here anymore, we're so sorry for your loss. It's so hard. But we're so glad that you're here. Let us love you, because that's what church does. When church is living properly as living, breathing human beings, just loving each other. Really glad that you're here today.